Imagine a leaning old house on the edge of a quiet English village. From the outside, it looks like a piece of history. Timber beams, stone walls, a crooked roof. But what's inside has earned it a reputation as one of the most haunted places in the country. This is the ancient Ram Inn in Gloucestershire. Built in 1145, it originally housed workers who were building the nearby church. Later, it became a priest's residence. But the land it was built on is what really sets this place apart. According to legend, the house sits on top of an ancient pagan burial ground. Some even believe it was used for ritual sacrifices long before the church existed. When later owners started renovating, they uncovered something disturbing: child-sized bones and what looked like ritual daggers buried beneath the floorboards. Over the centuries, the house served many roles: family home, inn, possibly even a brothel. And through all those years, people kept reporting strange activity: footsteps in empty rooms, icy blasts of air, whispers with no source. One room in particular stands out: the bishop's room. It's considered the most haunted part of the house. Visitors have described seeing ghostly figures: monks, a cavalier, a woman staring out the window, and some have left so shaken they refused to return. One guest was even thrown from the bed by an unseen force. Elsewhere in the house, people report being touched, scratched, or frozen in place. Lights flicker, objects move on their own, and some have described a heavy, suffocating feeling that follows them from room to room. Many believe something darker is lurking here, something that doesn't want to be disturbed. The man who truly put the ancient Ram Inn on the map was John Humphreys, who bought the house in the 1960s to save it from demolition. He moved in with his family, but almost immediately began reporting terrifying encounters. Dragged from his bed, scratched, even temporarily possessed. Instead of leaving, he dedicated his life to the inn, living there for over 50 years. He believed it was his responsibility to protect others from whatever was inside. His stories and his refusal to abandon the house helped turn the ancient Ram into one of the UK's most infamous haunted sites. After John passed away in 2017, the house remained in the family and is now run by his daughter, Caroline Humphreys, who continues his legacy by keeping the doors open for ghost hunts and overnight investigations. People travel from all over the world to spend a night at the ancient Ram Inn. If you visit, bring a torch, and maybe don't turn your back on the shadows. Imagine a grand Victorian mansion sitting on a hilltop, surrounded by quiet fields in the Australian countryside. With its cast-iron balconies, manicured lawns, and sweeping views, it looks like something out of a period drama. But Monte Cristo Homestead, in the town of Junee, New South Wales, is known for something far more chilling. It's often called the most haunted house in Australia. The home was built in 1885 by a wealthy landowner named Christopher William Crawley. After coming into fortune thanks to a nearby railway boom, Crawley poured his wealth into constructing Monte Cristo as a show of success. And for decades, it stood as a symbol of status, power, and strict Victorian values. But behind the polished walls, life at Monte Cristo was anything but peaceful. The Crawleys were known to rule the property with absolute control, and over the years, the homestead became the site of multiple deaths, tragedies, and dark rumors, especially involving the servants and workers who lived on the estate. One of the most disturbing stories is that of a stable boy who burned to death in an accidental fire. In another case, a young maid fell, or possibly was pushed, from the balcony. But perhaps the most horrific was a mentally ill man who was reportedly chained up in the caretaker's cottage for decades, fed like an animal, and found only after his carer died. When he was discovered, he was curled on a mattress, surrounded by filth, and soon after died in an asylum. And those are just the confirmed stories. People who visit Monte Cristo today report cold spots, sudden feelings of nausea, flickering lights, and heavy footsteps when no one else is around. Some say they've seen the ghost of Mrs. Crawley herself, dressed in black, standing silently on the upstairs landing. Others claim to have been pushed, scratched, or overwhelmed by a thick, oppressive energy, especially in the servant quarters and children's rooms. The Homestead has been featured in countless paranormal documentaries, and many investigators leave convinced that something, or several things, still linger there. The house was abandoned for a time, but in the 1960s it was purchased by the Ryan family, who restored the property and began collecting its stories. They still run it to this day, offering both historical tours and overnight ghost stays. Monte Cristo is open to those brave enough to step inside after dark. Some guests walk out with nothing but goosebumps. Others leave with stories they can't explain and never want to experience again. If you go, don't wander off alone. And whatever you do, don't ignore the feeling that something's watching you. Step back to Chicago in 1893 during the height of the World's Fair. The city is buzzing with excitement. Electric lights, towering exhibits, crowds from across the globe. But just beyond the fairgrounds, on a quiet street corner, stood a building that would come to be known by a much darker name, the Murder Castle. It was the creation of Dr. H. Holmes, a man who appeared to be everything the new American dream promised: wealthy, educated, successful. But beneath the surface, Holmes was one of the most dangerous men in the country, and the building he designed was far more than a hotel. To outsiders, it looked like any other grand structure, but inside, it was a maze. Soundproof rooms, hidden hallways, staircases that led to nowhere, gas chambers disguised as guest rooms, and a basement filled with tools of death. Holmes hired and fired dozens of contractors throughout construction, so no one would understand the full layout. Only he knew the true design. Young women came to the hotel during the fair, drawn by job ads, cheap rooms, or promises from Holmes himself. Many checked in. Most were never seen again. Some were locked in rooms that slowly filled with gas. Others were dropped through hidden trapdoors into the basement, where Holmes had set up acid vats, quicklime pits, surgical tables, and even a crematorium. He confessed to 27 murders, though many believe the true number could be much higher, possibly over 100. His crimes were cold, calculated, and horrifying, and the building was the perfect trap. Holmes was finally arrested not for murder but for insurance fraud. Once in custody, the truth began to unravel. Newspapers dubbed him a monster. His castle became a national obsession. After his execution, the building was partially destroyed by fire and eventually demolished. Today, there's a post office on the site. Nothing remains of the original structure. But the story hasn't faded. Some say the basement of the post office still holds part of the foundation. Others claim they've heard strange noises or felt uneasy just walking by. You can't book a night here. You can't walk its halls. But you can stand at the corner of 63rd and Wallace, where the Murder Castle once stood, and think about the horrors that happened behind its walls. Because even if the building is gone, the nightmare it housed still echoes through history. Explain. If you're fascinated by chilling mysteries, puzzling disappearances, and haunting tales, Midnight Echoes is your destination. Subscribe, like, share, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload, because the darkest truths often emerge just when you think the night is quiet. Until next time, stay curious